The desert stretched endlessly under two suns, the sand glowing like molten fire. Marcus, a stranded human explorer, trudged through the wasteland with slow, painful steps. His rations were gone, his water nearly finished. In the pocket of his worn jacket, he had only one thing left: a single chocolate bar. It wasn't just food. It was the last reminder of Earth wrapped in faded silver paper. He had been saving it for the day he thought he would never see another. And judging by the way his body shook with exhaustion, that day was close. As he stumbled toward a cluster of ruined stone pillars, Marcus froze. Someone was there, a small figure crouched in the shade, watching him with wide silver eyes. Her skin was pale and cracked from the heat, her clothes torn into strips of rags. She looked fragile, almost too weak to stand. At first glance, Marcus thought she was a child, but when she spoke, her voice trembled with both age and fear. "Human," she whispered, her throat dry. "Food?" Marcus's heart tightened. She looked starving, skin stretched thin over bone. Her hands shook as she reached forward, not daring to come closer. He hesitated. That chocolate bar was his last. If he gave it away, he might not survive the night. But as he looked at her, crouched like a beggar in the dust, something inside him stirred. He remembered what it felt like to be powerless, to be ignored. Slowly, he pulled the chocolate bar from his pocket. The silver wrapper glinted faintly in the sun. Her eyes widened and she gasped softly as if he had revealed treasure. "Here," Marcus said quietly. He tore it in half and placed one piece in her trembling hands. The alien girl stared at it as though she couldn't believe it was real. Then with small bites she began to eat. Her lips parted in wonder. "Sweet," she whispered. I have never tasted such a thing." Marcus smiled faintly even as hunger twisted his stomach. "It's chocolate." "From Earth," she repeated the word softly. "Chocolate." Tears filled her eyes as she clutched the half-bar like it was the most precious gift she had ever received. Marcus leaned back against the stone, chewing slowly on his own piece. He knew it was foolish. He needed that food. But somehow seeing her eat made him feel less alone. For a long time they sat in silence, broken only by the sound of wind. Then the girl looked up at him with those silver eyes. "You gave me your last food," she said, her voice trembling. "Why?" Marcus shrugged tiredly. "Because you needed it more than me." Her lips trembled. She lowered her gaze, whispering almost to herself, "Then maybe you don't know who I am." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, a distant rumble echoed across the desert. The ground shook faintly, like footsteps too large to belong to any human. The girl flinched, her entire body tensing with fear. Marcus frowned. "What is it?" She shook her head quickly. "We must go now." The human narrowed his eyes. There was more to this girl than he thought. She wasn't just a starving beggar. Something about her presence, her reaction, told him she was hiding a secret. As the rumbling grew louder, Marcus tightened his grip on the chocolate wrapper. He had shared his last piece of Earth with her, unaware that the truth about the destitute alien girl would soon change everything. The rumble grew louder, echoing across the desert like thunder rolling through the sand. Marcus steadied himself against the pillar, his eyes searching the horizon. Nothing yet, just the shimmer of heat waves and the endless dunes. But the girl's trembling told him everything. Whatever was coming, it wasn't good. "What is it?" Marcus asked again, his voice firm. The alien girl clutched the half of chocolate in her hands as if afraid it would vanish. Her silver eyes darted toward the dunes. "Hunters," she whispered. "They come for me." Marcus frowned. "Hunters? Why would anyone be chasing you?" She shook her head quickly, her ragged hair falling into her face. "No time. If they find me, they will kill you too." Marcus almost laughed bitterly. He was already half dead from thirst and hunger. But there was something in her voice, raw terror, that cut through his weariness. He pushed himself up. "Then we better move," he offered his hand. She hesitated, then took it, her touch surprisingly warm despite her frail frame. Together they stumbled deeper into the ruins. The ruins were older than anything Marcus had seen. Great stone pillars carved with alien symbols, toppled statues half buried in sand. They slipped into a collapsed corridor, the shadows cooling their burning skin. The girl leaned against the wall, her breaths ragged. "You shouldn't have helped me," she said softly. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow. "I couldn't just leave you chained to the sun." Her lips trembled, her eyes shimmering with something more than fear. "But you don't understand who I am." Marcus studied her carefully. She looked frail, Destitute, but her words hinted at something bigger. Then explain. She opened her mouth, but before she could answer, voices echoed outside. Harsh, guttural voices. The hunters. The girl's entire body stiffened. She grabbed Marcus's sleeve. Please, don't let them take me. Marcus's instincts screamed to run, but he looked at her. This broken girl who had clutched a piece of chocolate like treasure. He couldn't abandon her. Stay behind me, he said firmly. The hunters entered the ruins. Tall, armored figures with reptilian faces and glowing spears, their boots pounding against the sand. Their leader sniffed the air, his slitted eyes narrowing. She is close, he hissed. The runaway cannot hide. Marcus pressed the girl deeper into the shadows. His heart pounded. He had no weapons, no strength, nothing but his will. But the hunter's steps drew nearer. One of them raised his spear, scanning the rubble. His gaze passed dangerously close to where Marcus and the girl crouched. Marcus's fists tightened. If they found her, he would have to fight. Even if it killed him. Suddenly, the girl's hand touched his arm. Her eyes glowed faintly, silver light pulsing like hidden fire. She whispered, "Trust me." Before Marcus could respond, the glow spread from her skin, wrapping around them both like a veil. The light shimmered, then faded, leaving them cloaked in shadow. The hunter turned his head, sniffing again. He frowned, then snarled. She was here. The trail ends. Search wider, the leader growled. She cannot have gone far. The hunters moved on, their heavy steps echoing deeper into the ruins. Marcus's breath caught. He looked at the girl in disbelief. Her glow faded, her body sagging with exhaustion. She whispered weakly, "Now you see why they want me." He stared at her, realization dawning. She wasn't just some starving beggar. She had power, something valuable enough for hunters to kill for. "Who are you?" Marcus demanded quietly. Her silver eyes met his, tears glistening. "I am not destitute. I am the daughter of those they fear. And if they catch me..." The galaxy burns. Marcus's chest tightened. He thought he had given away his last chocolate bar to a poor forgotten girl. But now he understood. He had stepped into something far greater than survival. The hunters were still searching. Their time was running out. And Marcus realized one truth. Saving her meant war. The girl swayed, weak from using her power. Marcus steadied her, his voice firm. "Then we get you out of here, no matter what it takes." Her lips parted, surprise flickering across her face. "Even now? Even knowing what I am?" He nodded. "Especially now." For a moment, the fear in her eyes softened into something else. Hope. Outside, the hunters roared in frustration. The hunt was not over. But for the first time, Marcus knew he wasn't just running from death. He was running toward a purpose, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to begin. The ruins groaned in the heat of the twin suns as Marcus guided the girl through the collapsed corridors. Dust rose with every hurried step, and the sound of the hunters' roars echoed behind them. Marcus glanced at her trembling frame. "Can you walk?" She nodded faintly, though her legs shook with exhaustion. "I can. Just don't leave me." "I won't," Marcus said firmly. His words surprised even him. He had promised a stranger, an alien girl whose secrets could put him in the crosshairs of killers. But something about her silver eyes made the words feel natural, even necessary. They stumbled into the open desert. The suns burned overhead, the air thick and heavy. Behind them, armored figures burst from the ruins, their glowing spears cutting through the haze. "There," the leader roared. "Don't let them escape," Marcus swore under his breath. His freighter was too far. They would never outrun hunters built for speed. The girl's hand tightened around his. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice breaking. "If they take me back, you'll die with me. Leave me. Save yourself." Marcus stopped and turned, his jaw set. "Listen to me. I don't care who you are or what they want. You're not theirs. Not anymore." Her silver eyes widened, her lips trembling. She had never heard those words before. The hunters closed in, their shadows long in the burning suns. Marcus spotted a canyon ahead, its jagged cliffs forming a narrow pass. "There," he muttered. "We can lose them in the rocks. Lose them in the rocks." They sprinted, or rather Marcus dragged them both forward while the girl fought to keep pace. The hunters' spears hissed, beams of searing energy striking the sand around them. Explosions flared, heat blasting across their backs. The canyon walls rose like jagged teeth, swallowing them in shadow. Marcus pulled the girl behind a boulder, both of them gasping for breath. The hunters' voices echoed. They're close. Spread out. Marcus pressed his back against the rock. He had no weapon, no strength left for a fight. Then he remembered the way the girl's skin had glowed, cloaking them in shadow. You can do it again, can't you? He whispered, her face paled. The veil? It takes too much. I'm weak already. If I try, I might. She stopped, her voice breaking. Marcus leaned close. Then let me worry about that. Just one more time, please. She swallowed hard, her silver eyes shimmering. Slowly she raised her trembling hand. Light pulsed faintly, wrapping around them like smoke. The glow thickened, bending the shadows until the boulder seemed empty. The hunters marched past, scanning the canyon. Their footsteps crunched in the sand. Marcus held his breath, praying the girl wouldn't collapse before they passed. One hunter paused, his spear raised. He sniffed the air, his reptilian eyes narrowing. Marcus's heart thundered. The girl's hand shook violently. Sweat rolled down her temples. The veil flickered. Marcus squeezed her hand. Hold on. Just a little longer. Her body trembled, but she clenched her jaw. The glow steadied again. The hunter snorted and moved on. When the last shadow vanished down the canyon, the girl collapsed into Marcus's arms. The glow faded. Her breathing was shallow, her skin pale. Hey, stay with me, Marcus urged, shaking her lightly. Her lips parted. I can't keep hiding. They'll never stop. Marcus looked into her eyes. Then tell me the truth. Who are you? For a moment she was silent, as though afraid to speak. Then she whispered, My name is Elira. The name rolled off her tongue like music, strange and powerful. Marcus frowned. Elira, why are they after you? Her silver eyes filled with tears. Because I'm not just a girl. I am the daughter of their enemy. My people were rulers once before the syndicate enslaved us. They think I'm gone. If they find me alive, it could spark war. Marcus's stomach twisted. He had thought she was just a beggar, a poor soul abandoned by fate. But now he realized she was royalty in hiding. A princess. And you? Elira asked softly, her voice fragile. Do you regret giving me your food now? Marcus met her gaze, his voice steady. Not for a second. Elira's lips trembled. For so long she had been nothing but prey, hunted and beaten, yet this human had given her kindness without knowing who she was. She had felt unworthy of even survival, but now for the first time hope stirred inside her. The sound of the hunters echoed faintly farther away now. Marcus lifted her carefully to her feet. We're not done yet. We'll get to my ship, and then, Elira, we'll figure out what comes next. Her silver eyes shone faintly, a small smile breaking through her fear. Together? He nodded. Together. The suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the desert. They weren't safe, not yet. But as they walked toward the unknown, Elira no longer felt like a destitute girl waiting to die. She was someone worth saving, and Marcus was the human who had chosen her over his own survival. The canyon opened into a barren plain, and in the distance Marcus saw it, his freighter. The ship was small, weather-beaten from years of travel, but it was the only chance they had. Its hull glinted under the fading sun, sitting half-hidden among the rocks. There, Marcus whispered, tightening his grip on Elira's arm. Just a little farther. She staggered beside him, her body frail but her eyes alive with determination. Every step seemed to cost her strength, yet she didn't complain. The thought of freedom, the thought of not running forever, pulled her forward. But behind them the hunters were closing in. Their guttural voices echoed across the plain, their spears glowing with deadly energy. They've found us, Elira gasped. Marcus's jaw clenched. Then we moved faster. They ran, sand crunching beneath their boots. The freighter loomed larger, hope rising with every step, but then a blast seared the ground beside them, sending sand flying. The hunters had spotted them. Go, Marcus shouted, shoving Elira toward the ramp. He spun, grabbing a loose piece of metal pipe from the sand. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. The hunters advanced in a half-circle, their leader snarling. The runaway princess. And the fool who feeds her. Hand her over, human, and we might let you crawl away. Marcus raised the pipe like a staff. His arms trembled, but his voice was steady. Not a chance. The leader's reptilian mouth twisted into a cruel grin. Then you die first, the first hunter lunged, spear flashing. Marcus ducked under the strike, swinging the pipe into the alien's knee. The hunter staggered, roaring in pain. Marcus struck again, aiming for the head, but the pipe glanced off the armored helmet. The alien backhanded him hard, sending him crashing into the sand. Marcus! Elira cried. She raised her trembling hand, silver light sparking at her fingertips. But her body was too weak. The glow sputtered, fading. The leader sneered. Pathetic. She cannot even summon her gift. No wonder her people fell. Marcus forced himself up, blood dripping from his lip. He spat into the sand. Maybe she doesn't have to fight alone. With a roar, he swung the pipe again, striking the hunter's weapon aside. Elira stumbled to his side, clutching the edge of the ramp. Her silver eyes blazed with desperation. I can't let them take me again, she whispered. Marcus glanced at her, his voice fierce. Then don't. Fight with me. Something in those words lit a spark in her chest. She had been hunted, chained, beaten down, but now someone was asking her to stand. Not as a slave. Not as prey, but as herself. Elira's body shook, but she raised her hand again. This time the silver light surged stronger, wrapping around her fingers, pulsing with heat. The hunters froze for a split second, their eyes narrowing. She thrust her hand forward. A wave of shimmering energy rippled out, slamming into the closest hunter. His spear clattered to the ground as he was hurled back into the rocks. Marcus stared, stunned. Well, that's new. Elira panted heavily, the glow fading. I can't hold it long, the leader snarled. Then we kill the human and drag her back broken. They charged. Marcus swung his pipe wildly, blocking a strike aimed for his chest. Elira staggered beside him, unleashing another weak blast of silver light. One hunter faltered, but another slammed Marcus into the ship's hull. The ramp hissed open. Marcus shoved Elira up first. Go! She scrambled inside, her body trembling with exhaustion. Marcus swung the pipe one last time, knocking a hunter's helmet sideways before leaping onto the ramp after her. The door sealed shut just as spears struck the hull, sparks flying. Inside, Marcus collapsed into the pilot's chair, his breaths ragged. Hold on tight! Elira clutched the seat beside him, her silver eyes wide with fear. Engines roared to life. The freighter shuddered, lifting from the sand. Outside, the hunters fired, their spears crackling against the shields. The ship lurched upward, breaking free of the desert plain. The leader of the hunters roared below, his voice echoing across the dunes. Run, little princess, run! We will find you again. Stars filled the viewport as the freighter soared into the dark sky. Marcus leaned back, his hands trembling against the controls. He was alive. She was alive. For now. Beside him, Elira stared at him with shining eyes. You fought for me, she whispered. Marcus managed a tired smile. And I'll keep fighting, as long as it takes. Her chest ached with emotions she couldn't name. For the first time since her capture, she felt more than fear. She felt safe, but she also knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The Syndicate would not forgive. They would not forget, and their hunt would only grow fiercer. Still, for the first time, Elira believed she might not face it alone. Far across the stars, deep in a Syndicate stronghold, a hologram flickered to life. The leader of the hunters bowed before his masters. She lives, he hissed. The princess lives, and she has a human protecting her. The Syndicate lord's eyes narrowed, cold and cruel. Then hunt them both. And this time, do not fail. The freighter drifted silently through the star lanes, its hull patched with makeshift repairs. Marcus sat at the controls, eyes heavy with exhaustion, but his grip steady. Elira sat beside him, her silver eyes watching the stars slip past. They hadn't spoken much since escaping the desert world. Both were too tired, too shaken, but silence couldn't last forever. Finally, Elira whispered, They won't stop. The Syndicate will chase us until you're dead. Marcus glanced at her, his face calm but serious. Then we don't give them the chance. She lowered her gaze. You should have left me. You'd be safe now. No. Marcus shook his head. Safe? Alone in the desert with an empty stomach? No. Saving you wasn't a mistake. Her lips trembled, a tear glistening in her eye. For so long she had been told she was worthless. To hear those words again without hesitation felt unreal. They landed on a small colony world, a place where miners and traders scraped by far from Syndicate control. The freighter drew little attention, though Marcus kept his hand near his knife as they walked the dusty streets. Elira clutched a hood over her face, her body tense with every glance. But even here she noticed whispers. A human with a strange alien girl, a girl with silver eyes. In the tavern, Marcus exchanged a pouch of credits for food and fuel. As he turned, he saw Elira frozen near the doorway. A miner had stopped in his tracks, staring at her. He whispered hoarsely, "Silver eyes. It's her." Before Marcus could react, the man darted out the door, shouting down the street, "She lives. The princess lives." The word spread like fire. Within hours, the colony buzzed with rumors. The syndicate didn't kill her. She escaped? No, she fights with a human now. Slaves whispered in the corners of taverns, their eyes wide with hope. Traders passed the story from one ship to another. By the time Marcus refueled the freighter, the entire settlement was humming with the same phrase. The princess lives. Marcus led Elira back toward the docks, his hand firm on her shoulder. "We have to go, now!" Her face was pale, her silver eyes wide. "They know. Everyone knows." Marcus stopped, turning her to face him. "That's not a bad thing, Elira. You've been hunted because they're afraid of what you represent. Now people see you're alive. That fear can become hope." Her chest tightened. "Hope in me? I'm weak. I can barely stand without you." Marcus's voice was steady. "You're more than you think. They don't whisper my name, Elira. They whisper yours." That night, as the freighter lifted from the colony, Elira sat by the viewport, watching the world shrink into the stars. Her mind swirled with confusion. She had been a beggar, a prisoner, a girl chained like a dog. Yet now, strangers whispered her name like it meant something. Marcus approached, carrying a blanket. He draped it over her shoulders gently. "Rest, you'll need your strength." She looked up at him, silver eyes shimmering. "Marcus, what if I can't be what they need me to be?" He crouched down, meeting her gaze. "Then you be who you are." "That's enough." Her throat tightened. For once she let herself lean against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "I don't understand you, human. You gave me food, you fight for me, and now you tell me I matter." Marcus's voice softened. "Because you do." Far away in the syndicate's grand hall, fury reigned. A hologram of the miner's report played before the council. "The girl lives," one lord spat, "and now the colonies whisper her name. She will be a symbol," another snarled. "If they believe she rises, they will rise with her." The leader's eyes burned with rage. "Then we kill the symbol. Burn every colony that speaks her name. And when we catch her, there will be nothing left for her to rule." The syndicate fleets prepared to move. Elira awoke to Marcus adjusting the freighter's course. "Where are we going?" she asked softly. He glanced at her with a faint smile. "Somewhere the syndicate doesn't expect. And somewhere you can see what your name already means." Confused, she followed him to the scanner. Dozens of signals blinked across the star map. Not hunters, not syndicate. Independent ships. Small, scattered, but gathering. Elira's lips parted. "They're coming." Marcus nodded. "For you. They believe in you, Elira. They want to fight. You just have to choose if you'll lead them." Her chest ached with both fear and wonder. Once she had begged for scraps in the dust. Now she was the spark of rebellion, and deep inside she realized Marcus wasn't just saving her anymore. He was helping her save everyone. The freighter drifted in orbit around a barren moon, its engines humming softly. Inside, Marcus studied the flickering star map, his expression grim. Each red mark represented a colony the syndicate had struck in the past week. Each mark meant hundreds dead, thousands enslaved. Elira stood behind him, her silver eyes wide with horror. "They're burning entire settlements. Because of me." Marcus turned, his voice calm but hard. "They're doing it because they're afraid of you. That means you matter more than you think." She shook her head, trembling. "No, I never asked for this. I can't be the reason others suffer." Marcus set his hands on her shoulders, steadying her. "Elira, listen. You're not the reason. The syndicate is. They would kill and enslave with or without you, but now people have a reason to fight back. You are that reason." Her throat tightened. She wanted to argue, to deny it. But she remembered the miner's eyes when he recognized her, the whispers in the colony tavern, the signals blinking on the star map. People weren't rallying for Marcus. They weren't rallying for a faceless rebellion. They were rallying for her. Later that night, Marcus found her sitting alone by the viewport, her staff across her knees. The stars reflected in her silver eyes, but her face was clouded with doubt. He sat beside her without a word. After a long silence, she whispered, "What if I lead them into death? What if I can't save anyone?" Marcus's answer was quiet but firm. "Then at least they'll die standing, not kneeling. And they'll follow you because you stood first." Her chest ached. She thought of the chocolate bar, the simple act that had changed everything. One human had seen her worth when she saw none in herself, and now, whole worlds were beginning to see it too. The Syndicate's fury grew. Their fleets cut a path of fire, destroying villages that whispered Elira's name. Hollow broadcasts played across the galaxy. The so-called princess lives. She is a traitor. Any who harbor her will burn. But the fire had the opposite effect. For every colony they destroyed, 3 more whispered her name louder. Smugglers sent supplies. Slaves escaped and joined hidden camps. Rebel captains painted silver flames on their ships in her honor. The galaxy was shifting, and Elira stood at its center. When Marcus brought her to one of the hidden camps, Elira's breath caught. Hundreds of aliens, slaves, miners, traders looked up as she stepped from the freighter. Whispers rippled through the crowd. It's her, the princess. She lives. Elira froze. Her hands shook, her throat closing. She wasn't a princess to her. She was still the girl who had begged in the dust for scraps. But then a child stepped forward. Thin, ragged, her skin bruised from chains, she held out a small piece of stale bread. "You gave your last food to someone like me," the girl whispered. "So I give you mine." Tears filled Elira's eyes. She knelt, taking the bread gently. Her voice trembled. "I am not strong, but with all of you, maybe I can be." The camp erupted in cheers. Marcus stood behind her, his chest swelling with pride. For the first time, Elira wasn't hiding. She was leading. That night, as the camp prepared defenses, Marcus and Elira sat by the fire. "You stepped into it today," Marcus said softly. She shook her head. "I don't feel like a leader." He smiled faintly. "Leaders never do. But they act anyway. That's what makes them different." She looked at him, silver eyes glistening. "And you? What are you in this fight?" His smile grew. "I'm the human who gave away his last chocolate bar. And I'll give everything else too if it means you win." Her heart tightened. Slowly she reached out, her hand brushing his. "Then we'll win. Together." Far away, the Syndicate lords gathered again. Reports of rebellion filled their hall. "She stirs them to fight," one spat. "Slaves rise because of her name," another growled. "She is no longer prey. She is their flame," the leader said darkly. The council leaned forward, eyes burning with rage. "Then we will extinguish her. With fire so great the galaxy will forget she ever lived." Orders spread. Their greatest fleet prepared to move. And Elira, once a beggar chained in the dust, now stood at the heart of a rebellion she never asked for, but one she could no longer deny. The rebel fleet gathered at the edge of a dying star system. Dozens of patched freighters, stolen frigates, and makeshift gunboats floated in loose formation, their crews tense and waiting. Against the Syndicate's massive armada, they looked like insects facing giants. Inside the freighter, Elira stood at the viewport, her silver eyes reflecting the countless ships beyond. Her staff rested in her hand, its worn wood steady like her heart. "They'll be here soon," Marcus said quietly, adjusting the controls. She nodded, her voice soft but firm. "Then today we stop running." The Syndicate fleet arrived like a storm. Warships blotted out the stars, their engines glowing red, their cannons charging with deadly fire. A chilling broadcast echoed across the system. "Surrender the false princess. All who follow her will burn." The rebels fell silent, fear rippling through their ships. For many, this was the first time they had stood against the Syndicate so openly. Elira stepped forward, activating the comms. Her voice, though trembling at first, grew stronger with each word. "I was once their slave, chained, beaten, forgotten. They called me worthless. But you—" Her voice cracked with emotion. "You reminded me I am not broken. Neither are you. Today we fight not for me, but for every voice they silenced, every chain they forged. We fight so no child will ever beg in the dust again. Stand with me. Stand with each other. Today we rise. Stand with each other. Today we rise." Her words rippled through the fleet. Silence broke into cheers, shouts, and war cries. Ships lit their engines, weapons primed. Marcus grinned faintly. "That'll do it." The battle began. The Syndicate's warships surged forward, their cannons unleashing walls of fire. The rebel fleet scattered, weaving between blasts, returning fire where they could. Explosions lit the void, burning wreckage spinning into darkness. Marcus piloted with sharp precision, dodging blasts as Elira manned the weapons. Her strikes were steady, each shot crippling Syndicate escorts. Still, the rebels were outnumbered. For every Syndicate ship destroyed, 2 more pressed forward. Fear clawed at Alira's chest. Then Marcus's voice cut through. "Remember what you told them, Stand. No matter what." Her silver eyes narrowed. She steadied her breath, her hand glowing faintly as her strange power seeped into the weapon system. Energy pulsed brighter than before. When she fired, the blast tore through a Syndicate cruiser in a single strike. The rebels gasped across the comms. "The princess fights with us. Her fire is ours." Confidence surged. The fleet rallied, pressing harder. On the Syndicate flagship, the Lords snarled. "She dares use her gift. Focus all fire. Kill her." The flagship turned its massive cannons toward the freighter. Marcus swore under his breath. "We can't outrun that." Alira gripped his arm. "Then we don't run." She closed her eyes, silver light pouring from her skin. Energy crackled across the freighter's hull, wrapping it in a shimmering shield. The flagship's cannon fired, a blast that should have torn them apart. Instead, it struck the shield and shattered into sparks. The rebels roared. Hope burned brighter. Marcus's eyes widened. "Alira, you just turned their fire against them." Her body shook, sweat beading her forehead. "I can't hold it forever. We have to end this now." Marcus steered the freighter straight toward the flagship. Rebel ships formed around them, shielding their approach. The Syndicate fired relentlessly, but Alira's power turned their own blasts into harmless bursts of light. "Now, Alira," Marcus shouted. She poured everything into one final strike. Her silver glow surged through the freighter's weapons, amplifying the shot beyond human or alien design. The cannon roared, the beam tearing through the flagship's core. The colossal ship split apart, exploding in a storm of fire and wreckage. The Syndicate fleet faltered. Leaderless, panicked, they began to scatter. The rebels surged forward, chasing them into retreat. Silence settled after hours of battle. Wreckage floated where the Syndicate's might had stood. The rebels cheered across the comms, voices rising in triumph. Alira slumped into her chair, her body weak but her eyes shining. Marcus caught her hand, steadying her. "You did it." She shook her head softly. "We did it. I never would have stood without you." He smiled faintly, his chest aching with pride. "And now the galaxy knows your name." Her silver eyes glistened. "Not as a slave, not as prey, but as a fighter." Marcus squeezed her hand as hope. Across the stars, word spread faster than light. The Syndicate had fallen back. The rebels had won. And at the heart of it all was the girl once thought destitute, chained, forgotten. Now she was a symbol. A spark. A leader. Alira looked out at the endless stars, her voice soft but sure. "It began with chocolate, but it will end with freedom." Marcus chuckled, shaking his head. "Strange, isn't it? How something so small changes everything." Together they watched the stars no longer as fugitives, but as the beginning of something greater. Not broken, not chained, but free. The battlefield was quiet now. Wreckage drifted through the stars, glowing faintly from dying fires. The Syndicate fleet had fled into the dark, leaving behind the remains of their once unstoppable flagship. Inside the freighter, Marcus slumped in the pilot's chair, exhaustion heavy on his face. Across from him, Alira sat wrapped in a blanket, her silver eyes reflecting the wreckage. She was weak, drained from channeling her power. But she held herself upright, shoulders squared. "They'll come back," Marcus muttered. "They won't accept this loss." Alira nodded slowly. "I know, but today we showed them they can bleed. And the galaxy saw it." Her words carried a weight Marcus hadn't heard before. She didn't speak like a fugitive anymore. She spoke like someone stepping into her place in history. When they landed at a hidden rebel outpost, the atmosphere was electric. Crowds of aliens gathered, their faces lit with hope. Children climbed onto crates just to glimpse her. Survivors reached out with trembling hands, wanting to touch her, as if confirming she was real. It's her. The princess lives. She stood against the Syndicate and won. Alira froze at the sight of so many eyes fixed on her. For years she had been mocked, hunted, chained. Now she was a symbol. Marcus gave her a gentle nudge. "They're waiting for you." Her throat tightened. Slowly she stepped forward. "I was once their slave," she began, her voice trembling. The crowd hushed. "I begged for scraps. I thought I was worthless. But a human shared his last food with me, because he saw me as more than chains. That simple kindness showed me I was not broken. And today I tell you all, you are not broken either. We will rise together." The outpost erupted in cheers. Fists lifted. Voices shouted her name. Alira's chest swelled. tears burning her eyes. For the first time, she believed the words herself. That night, when the crowds had gone quiet, Marcus found her outside, sitting by a small fire beneath the stars. She held the silver wrapper from the chocolate bar, worn and faded. He sat beside her, stretching his tired legs. "You kept it," she smiled faintly. "It was the first thing anyone gave me without chains attached." She turned the wrapper in her hand, the firelight glinting off its creases. "And maybe the first thing that made me believe in tomorrow." Marcus's gaze softened. "Funny. I thought I was just giving away food." "You gave me more than that, Marcus." Her voice trembled. She looked at him, silver eyes glistening. "You gave me a chance to be me again." He swallowed hard, emotions tugging at his chest. "And you gave me a reason to fight." For a long time they sat in silence, the bond between them unspoken but unbreakable. Far away, the syndicate lords gathered in fury, their fleet destroyed, their slaves whispering rebellion, their enemies growing bolder. "She cannot be allowed to live," one snarled. "She is a flame," another hissed, and flames spread. The council's leader leaned forward, his voice dark. "Then we drown her in darkness. Let the galaxy rise with her for a time. But in the end she will burn." Their vow was clear. The war was not over. Back at the outpost, Marcus prepared the freighter for their next journey. Supplies were loaded, messages from new allies poured in, and plans for a rebellion began to take shape. Elira approached him, standing tall despite her exhaustion. "The galaxy whispers my name now, but it's not mine alone. Without you, none of this would have happened." Marcus smirked. "I just gave away a chocolate bar." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "No, you gave me freedom, and now we'll give it to everyone else." She extended her hand. "Together?" He took it without hesitation. "Together." As the freighter lifted into the sky, the crowd below raised their voices, chanting her name. The sound followed them into the stars, carrying across systems faster than any ship. Elira sat in the co-pilot's chair, her staff leaning against the wall, the silver wrapper tucked safely in her pocket. Marcus glanced at her, smiling faintly. "Ready to change the galaxy?" She met his gaze, her silver eyes glowing with determination. "I already have. Now we finish it." The freighter vanished into the stars, not as a vessel of fugitives, but as the flagship of a cause. And across the galaxy, the legend spread of a human who gave his last piece of earth to a girl in chains, and of a princess who turned that kindness into a fire no empire could extinguish. The girl once destitute was no longer a beggar. She was hope, and hope was unstoppable. Beggar. She was hope, and hope was unstoppable.